or Anunnaki?
Or Anunnaki.
That's the good one.
Yeah, they show up everywhere.
That's the ultimate one.
That is the big one. The Anunnaki's the big one.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's one that makes you go, oh.
Because it shows up everywhere. It shows up in the Bible. It shows up in the Mahabharata. It shows up in ancient Chinese literature. It shows up everywhere. Not always called the Anunnaki, but the Anunnaki, and then they have their servile species that could be the Nephilim, could be the giants, and then they take these primitive humans, give them just enough intelligence to mine the gold. It's part of the lore.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, it's the best one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best one because when you do look at ancient Sumer and you look at their detailed map of the solar system, you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, how did they figure that out?
Right.
Like, you're talking about 6,000 years ago, they had depictions of the planets all in the proper area. Like, they weren't the exact right size, but, like, the bigger ones were in the place where the bigger ones would be, the smaller ones in the place where the smaller ones would be. It was representative. And the sun looks like a sun. Like, it's got the rays around it.
Right.
Showing that this is the center of the solar system.
Right. And this is how many thousands of years before Copernicus, right?
Yeah.
Didn't even know. Something I don't think it doesn't get enough attention is when these ancient cultures are obsessed with equinoxes. A lot of people think equinoxes is when day and night are the same, but that's not what that is. When day and night are the same, it's called equilux, and it's different for everybody on Earth, depending on where you are. An equinox is when the sun is over the center of the Earth's equator. Well, how did you know there was an equator? So Stonehenge is aligned to the equinoxes. How did you know there was an equator? And how was the pyramid? The sizes are directly divisible to a number like 43,200 that could be factored in to calculate the circumference of the Earth. So you can calculate the equinox. How did they do that?
Right, and how is it pointed to true north, south, east, and west?
How did they do that?
Why does it mirror the stars of the Orion Belt?
But mirrors them 30,000 years ago because of precession.
Right.
So I'm in the camp that the Egyptians found the pyramids, not built them. But I'm glad Zahi's not here.
Well, that would, get you to the ancient civilization theory. But when you're looking at an ancient civilization that is as complex as Egypt, and then you factor in the Anunnaki story and all these other things, you got to think, like, why were the Egyptians so advanced? Like, where did they learn this from?
Christopher Dunn has the answer.
The power plant?
Power plant.
Yeah. Is that what you think?
It's one of my favorite episodes because you can either watch my stupid thing with the fish, or the better thing is to just buy Chris's books and read the science.
Oh, don't be a sheep.
Don't be a sheep. The next one's going to have taxes are theft.
For people who don't know, if you haven't watched the show, Hecklefish talks shit from the aquarium during the entire show. It's really a funny it makes the show fun. Because it's like shows you're not totally taking it seriously.
Right.
You have a talking fish who talks shit to you the entire time.
What I'm trying to do is take weird topics, complex topics, break them down, make them accessible to everybody, have a good time, get you thinking on your own. If I get things wrong, that's okay. As long as you go out and just get interested in stuff. That's what I'm trying to do. Have fun and get you interested.
Have you been looking at all under the structures underneath the pyramid?
Yes, I'm skeptical of that research. Because if you look at the imaging, I don't see the coils or any of that stuff. I don't see it. They also said they found the tomb of Nefertiti. No, the tomb of Osiris. It just looked like splotches on radar. And they haven't released any of that information to the scientific community. Nothing's peer-reviewed. But when it first hit the news, I was like, that supports the power plant theory, the coils and all of that. Mm-hmm. But I have a feeling that their research will be debunked. Hope I'm wrong.
Really? Well, they released more of it, and because they released more of it, and the conversations that Graham Hancock and Brian Murarescu had with them, well, they were initially skeptical as well. They've come around more to thinking that these guys might be onto something, because they've done this multiple times now with multiple scans. They keep getting the same results, and it does kind of look like coils when you look at the images. First of all, the pillars, the fact these pillars are uniform, and then the fact that the structure goes down 2 kilometers into the earth.
Yep.
Like, maybe people 4,500 years ago were so motivated Zawi said that it's like, this is the project of the entire country, the pride of the country. Okay, maybe, but 2 kilometers down, like we're starting to get real crazy.
I mean, if you look at the Khufu pyramids, like perfect, and then you look at the pyramids that were built later that we know were Egyptian built, and it's like the Timu version. It's like you're not even. It's like a mess. It's just a pile of rocks.
Yeah.
Where the Great Pyramid is precise. And there's no reasons for these different chambers and the chemical residue. Why? And why are there copper rods going down into the aquifer, which is exactly the technology Tesla was using at Wardenclyffe Tower, the same exact technology. Why? There's hydrochloric acid. We have evidence of that. And we've got the zinc sulfide, and it creates hydrogen atoms that go up the gallery. And then there's an opening that's exactly the right wavelength for hydrogen to flow through. And it resonates at 440 hertz, and it makes an F-sharp chord. And you've got it's tuned inside the king's chamber to exactly that chord. Or, maybe it's just a place for a dead guy. Why use rose quartz, which is so highly, the rose granite is so dense with quartz. It's very rare, but it creates a lot of piezoelectricity when you apply pressure to it. And hydrogen could do that if you pumped it through the king's chamber.
It's so fascinating to me that the gatekeepers are so they're so reluctant to even consider any possibility that it might have been something other than what they've initially asserted.
It's frustrating, but it ruins their career and their reputation. It's like everything you said was wrong.
Over time, I have a buddy who just went to Egypt, and he hired these 2 archaeologists to take him on a tour, and both of them were saying there is no way the actual mainstream story is accurate. They're like, there's no way. Like, this stuff is beyond. And then as he was like going through it with him, he said he was just fucking blown away. He said, I haven't been, but he said, you can look at it all day on television and on your laptop. When you go there, you're just like, what the fuck?
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, we should go together.
Let's do it.
Let's go. Let's go. Zahi wants me to go with him, but I just don't think I could. I think after an hour, I'd be like, dude, I got to get away from you.
Yeah.
You're freaking me out.
He'll ruin everything.
I discovered this. This is my discovery. Yeah, he
didn't even mention the limestone from Tor. Didn't even touch on it.
What's the significance of that?
It's a great insulator of electricity. It's also mined from very far away. We know it was definitely there. Herodotus talked about the limestone pyramids that could be seen from the mountains of Arabia. So Herodotus, they were still there. We know that the limestone facing was there because a lot of it was looted after a couple of earthquakes. They built bridges out of it. You can go touch it. It's there. But he didn't talk about it. But if the pyramid power plant theory is true, then you use the limestone as an insulator. Inside, you've got the granite, which creates this piezoelectricity. And then you've got this other limestone in between that kind of keeps everything modulated.
So if it was a power plant, like what was it powering and how was it doing that?
That's the big problem I have is... so if Tesla wanted to project this energy into the ionosphere, and then everyone could tap into it with some type of receiver, like a radio. But there's no evidence I can find of them powering anything. So we can make the argument that maybe if the capstone were gold, this energy could resonate through the center of the pyramid, come up through the golden capstone, and then go straight into the ionosphere. And we know that the pyramid will resonate at certain frequencies and amplify it. That's been tested at about 200 meters is the ideal wavelength. But the only other theory is the obelisks at some point were these receivers. But there's no evidence that they powered anything. But maybe they used the energy for something different. I don't know.
And if we're looking at the wrong timeline, if we're not really looking at 2,500 BC, if we're looking at 30,000 BC or something even before that, which is also a weird thing that Zahi dismissed. He dismissed this idea of the King's List that goes back 30,000 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And he says that's just...
Myth.
Right, it's just myth.
Yeah. We know exactly. Also, he said he didn't believe in carbon dating, which is like...
Yeah.
That's convenient.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
Did not believe in carbon dating. And what about rock dating? That is a thing with certain types of rock. Limestone, not so much, but something like igneous rock, you can get a pretty good idea.
Yeah, the whole thing is very weird. It's so weird because it's so vast and so spectacular that no matter what you think, no matter what theories you have, you still have to look and you go, how the fuck? Like it's so it's so nutty that you can't even imagine people making it.
Right.
Not people as like we consider people today. Like if a civilization today, if we, let's say for some reason, no one had ever visited a part of the earth, and then they went to a part of the earth and they saw people with these structures today, we'd be like, what happened? How did you do this?
We would think they were wizards.
Wizards.
Right.
Above and beyond.
We can't-
2,300,000 stones. Mm-hmm. Hundreds of miles through the mountains. You carried the big ones for the inside the king's chamber. You put them up 130 feet up in the air.
With a ramp.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
But it's all just, if they did, where'd that technology go? Where'd that construction knowledge go? Like, where did their engineering go? Like, how were people that advanced that long ago?
I like the acoustic levitation theory is an interesting one where they use sound vibration to lift heavy objects. We see that occurring throughout history as part of lore. But even in the 1930s, a British, maybe he was an archaeologist, naturalist, went to see Buddhist monks, and using instruments, he watched them levitate heavy objects. And there's film of it. This is all a legend. And when he went back to the UK, they seized the film. But they were using instruments and chanting to levitate these rocks up a cliff face to build whatever they were building.
Well, how about that wacky dude in Florida that made the Coral Castle?
Oh, yeah, that's Edward Lee Scanlon. It's hard to find, but I found him using levers and pulleys and stuff to do it. It's still amazing what he did.
Yeah, by himself.
By himself. He's like 5'1",
Yeah.
90 pounds. And I think that door is tons, and you can push it with your finger. That door in the Coral Castle is amazing.